Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch right now.
Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I see the live indicator, so that means we must be live. Oh man, it's getting
Yeah,
real.
Tuesday Talks, guys. It's DJ Enigma here with Charles King. Charles King, let me tell you a story about Charles King.
Okay, here it
We
goes.
were talking about doing a promo video. So when Sully and I started this company, we just kind of hit the ground running on what we wanted to do. Sully knew Charles before I knew him. For those of you that don't know, Sully's a photographer. It's one of her hobbies and one of the things that she does sometimes to make some money. She's not as in the event circuit as I am. I'm like fully dived in, and I've been in it for a while. But at one point, we started talking about content. We started talking about how all these things I've been learning about content and in a digital age, how it's important to create content. But me, I'm running around with my phone all the time, filming everything. But obviously, phone camera is not the same as a professional camera. So enter Charles. Sully says, I know this guy, but he's down in Virginia. Virginia, right? I'm not getting that wrong, right?
No, that's me, Virginia, based in the DC, Virginia area.
Yeah, so when she said Virginia, I was like, there's no way he's going to come down. And she was like, you obviously don't know Charles. So we spoke to him. Lo and behold, we ended up booking him for, our promo video. And Charles, from the jump, he kind of walked us through it and was like, this is how a promo video should be. You guys should work on A, B, and C. Tell me what your busiest weekend is, and I'll come down and we'll film. So that was actually a year ago yesterday, that we filmed our promo videos. And we had, we had 2 weddings that day. And then the next
different locations too.
2 different locations, and Charles was a one-man show. Went to both locations. We had 2 big weddings, and one was in the middle of Manhattan. And I'll preface that by saying there was a parade going on or something that day. So getting around on public transportation or in a taxi was just madness. But Charles just trekked through it. I went to both locations with him. I'm going to show a promo video shortly so you guys can see what that ended up looking like. But I want to say that Charles, if not the best in the industry, he's one of the best. I don't think I'd work with anyone else really to do my promo video. I work with a lot of videographers, and sorry guys, if you're watching, I love you to death. But Charles is just unmatched from what I've seen. So, Charles, I'll just go ahead. I gave you my intro. I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. I know you wear many hats, but what is it that you do? What do you say to people when they ask you who you are and what do you do?
Wow, I don't really know what to say after that level intro. That was like fantastic. Thank you. When people ask me what do I do, I mean, I get that asked a lot because depending on who I'm talking to, they might have a totally different need. But at the end of the day, I'm a content and multimedia producer, not just producer as in the role of a producer. I obviously do that, but actually just creating the media, creating the content to help a business or an individual or even a brand amplify the message. And that's for the most part what the real answer is for when it comes down to what do I do. Obviously I still film and photograph weddings, but I do mainly the commercial stuff, mainly the brands and stuff like that, because whether it's a wedding or whether it's a company, it's still amplifying your message, your story, whatever, to your audience.
Right. Yeah. So Charles, when he did our video, I also asked Sully that. I was wondering, is there a difference? If someone goes and they do weddings and they do events, can they put together a promo video? Like, is that something? It's 2 different beasts, obviously. It takes a lot more skill and a lot more, there's a lot of creases and things that you have to iron out. So if someone approaches you and they ask you, can you do both? What's really your response? Like, is it something that's just like, yeah, I can do that with my eyes closed, or it's just like it depends on what you're asking me?
So we're talking about mainly from a commercial standpoint, marketing video. We're talking about as a wedding or event shooter.
So let's just to throw a wrench into it. If a DJ was to say, I want you to come to a wedding and film, but I want it to be a promo video, but I want you to film the wedding. What's your approach when doing something like that? Kind of like what you did for me.
Well, we're going to take a couple steps back on that one. So the DJ wants me to film the wedding and make a promo video?
While at the wedding, using the footage from a wedding to film a promo video.
Okay. So step one, what I would do for that is I'd figure out if the bride and groom have another videographer or photographer, because if I'm gonna film the wedding and there's another videographer, we're gonna have a clash real quick, because they're gonna be like, whoa. I'm gonna be like, hey, I don't know. That's exactly what I would probably say. I would play as dumb as possible. Cause I'd be like, hey, I kind of asked my client, which is the DJ, and he said it was cool. So I'm gonna be in the back, so you don't really have an artistic ego meltdown. That's exactly what I would do. But could I do it? Absolutely. But what I would also tell you, as like let's say the DJ hired me because he wants all the footage from the wedding to make a promo video, is why do you want the footage from the wedding? Because to make a good promo video, especially for a DJ lighting company and stuff like that, I would, and this is how I do most of my sales as well, is I go in there and really figure out the why for some of the questions you ask, because you might think, hey, we need all this stuff to make the promo video. But the truth of the matter is, if I was filming and making a promo video for you, the DJ and lighting and event company, I don't need that much of the ceremony. I need maybe a couple cool shots of the ceremony, and that's it.
Right. And I don't think you did parts of the ceremony, but you didn't even film the ceremony for me. You filmed me going to the ceremony. You filmed some of the services we provided for the ceremony, but the actual ceremony, like the bride and groom, you didn't get.
Right.
And it still came out dope. Again, I'm going to show the video in a few minutes, but
that's exciting. I haven't seen that in like a year.
I was actually thinking 2 days ago, no, yesterday, because it was the anniversary of Ryan and Alicia, the wedding at Revel Hotel. And I thought about, I was like, maybe I should post some new footage. I should reach out to Charles, because I've been grinding too, like COVID-19. I'm going to get to that too, asking you how you evolved over COVID-19, but it forced me into a digital age, and I'm a digital DJ for a lot of my events now. So I'm still working just as hard. It's just I'm not leaving my house now. But
I mean, do you like it? I mean, how do you feel about staying at home and working like that?
I don't mind. I mean, the only thing that's different is that, obviously once in a blue Mason will come running around, or, you'll hear the baby in the background. But, when I'm actually performing and I have the music on, no one can tell the difference, because they're not loud enough to go over my music. But for the most part, it's been pretty easy, I think. But yeah, you know what? Let me show the promo video now.
Oh snap! Here it comes.
It's a 3-minute video, I think, 3.5. And I'm really proud of this thing. Every time I talk about this video, people are just like blowing me up, like, wow, did you make that video? Actually, in the first Tuesday talk that I did, the guy I interviewed, he's a millionaire. He owns a big international photo booth company. His name is Charles. No, his name is Josh, and I told him Charles King. I gave him your name when he asked me about it. So
nice.
I'm so proud of that video. So I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna show it now. Can you guys see this? Yeah, you can. All right. And I think I can share sound too, right? Just want to make sure. Last time it came from my speakers. I want to make sure it's coming from. I think it's good. All right. Nope. Sorry, it's the second time doing this sharing screen business.
No worries. We're all evolving here, right? Keyword evolving. You see what I did there, right?
Evolving events. Actually, so everyone could see it a little. I'm just going to remove us. And we'll do it this way. There we go. All right. Without further ado. Based out of New York City, we are Evolving Events NYC. The word evolve represents so much for us. Because I'm going into business with my wife, we've learned to evolve. And just like the private events industry, we are still constantly evolving today and every day just to be the absolute best version of ourselves for our clients.
We consider ourselves a boutique event company, and we want to bring that to each of the celebrations of our clients.
We strive to give you that family vibe anytime you work with us. We find that this drastically changes the success of our parties and allows us to make your events perfect.
We're located in Brooklyn and proudly serving all of New York City and its surrounding areas, including the entire Tri-State area. We're young business owners in the very middle of two very different generations. Though we're considered millennials, we understand and know how to serve and work with both generations.
Thanks to our parents, they gave us the perspective we needed to understand both generations.
We strive to become part of the family, and this includes our entire staff. All staff members go through a detailed interview process to ensure the quality we want. All of our staff have to be trainable and flexible. I won't accept anything less. My clients deserve that. All egos are left out the door.
When hiring, we're looking to bring quality. Plain and simple. We don't want the old run-of-the-mill setup with cookie-cutter employees. We want professionalism and genuine people. We're not in this to make a quick buck. We're in this to make our clients proud of their investment. We know hiring a professional is an investment, and we offer our clients the comfort of knowing that they're hiring some of the best in the industry.
We care. You're not just another client to us. You trust us with your life events and the biggest days of your life, and we don't take that lightly.
Backstreet Back, yes!
I always cringe at that part.
As the face of the company, I try to attend as many events as I can so that I have the pleasure of meeting all of the clients face-to-face if we've never had the chance to do that before. So I'm all for community and not competition. What that means is that I play nice. Whether it be a photographer like the videographer that's working with me today, or a venue like the Vanderbilt where I'm filming, we make sure that we play nice so that your wedding or event goes off without a hitch. One of the things that I really aim for is to make sure that we have top-of-the-line equipment, cutting-edge technology. While that's not the main point of my message, we want you to know that we're doing everything we can to make sure that your event goes perfectly. One of the things I take a lot of pride in when bringing people on board is making sure that there are no egos allowed at my company. So whether it be me or another staff member at your event, we make sure that we put you first.
Being a mother and a woman helps bring the TLC and attention to detail to the company and to all of the events. I handle most of the back end and operations part of the business, and I leave the high energy part of the business to Eric.
So if you're putting together an event, feel free to contact us. It'll be a free consultation, and you'll probably get on the phone with me personally. Whether it be for a private event or you have some audio needs, we are here for you. I'm Eric, and I'm out.
Man, I still get chills looking at that video. But yeah, that was an awesome video, man. I appreciate your work on that.
Well,
So
thank you.
tell me your your approach to these things. Like once you had all the footage, like I remember you showing me like the day of, you already started working on it, and we filmed over the course of 2 days. So there was Sunday, I think it was, where we went to the Vanderbilt, Staten Island. Even went to Brooklyn for coffee and came back. And we were looking for a coffee shop close by. Ended up in Brooklyn. But like, what's your approach when you have this footage? Like, do you have an idea in mind from the jump, or do you sit down and say, all right, let me consolidate all of this and I'll have my vision as I go?
Well, it depends on what we're doing. The true matter is, I send it off to my editor and I let my editor take care of it. But I typically guide them just a little bit on the direction we're going. So, for example, that's one of the reasons why, if you remember way back when we did this, I asked you so many questions. There was probably so many pre-production meetings and questions because I want to have a good idea, a good vibe for what you're going for. Because even if this is a standard promo about us video, like the concept of an about us video is reproducible, but the fact is, to make it unique for each person, that's where it has to be more custom tailored for what that person's going for the vibe, for the how it all comes together. So with you, I knew that from talking to you, you wanted to show New York streets, you wanted to show your wife, you wanted to have the family aspect in there. I know you wanted to talk about, having quality equipment, because many people, in your industry, they come out here with, back in the day, the Radio Shack special, stuff like that, and it just doesn't work out. You know what I'm talking about here. And so, like, knowing all that stuff like that, I know that, okay, all this has to fit in something that's about 3 to 4 minutes, because for an about us video, you want to go past that because their attention span's not there. So that means I know off the top of my head that, okay, when I go in there, I need at least these shots. And then also, I mean, I know I'm spoiling my own sales business with you in the future. I'm also thinking of what extra shots do I need for when I try to upsell you on a shorter edit or something shorter after the fact. So I know that, okay, I've already gotten that. So he doesn't have to hire me to come back and do this because I've already filmed that. Because that way, you know, when it comes to content creation, people need more and more of that. So if I've already got it filmed, I can say, hey, absolutely, I already got that filmed for you. Let me cut that. Let me edit that for you.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think as one of the hardest working people that I've met, you really don't stop, right? Like, I think you can have like, what's like the most amount of events you've had in one weekend?
Probably.
Now, is it events or what do you, if you're doing like commercial stuff, do you still count it as an event?
Assignments.
I
used to say shoots, but 2020. So I just call them assignments. Yeah, that's a vernacular I normally use. I don't know where the audience is coming from. So I'm just going to say assignments. And I would say some of the max I've done is normally I try not to do multiple ones in one day because most of my assignments, they aren't usually in the same area. So I might be doing headshots in Manhattan, then have to go out to Long Island to do a wedding for something or other, than do something either commercial or what I would list as commercial, whether I'm filming for another team or crew or whatever to make content. Because I get hired a lot of times for YouTubers to make content for their YouTube channel. So that's when it gets funny. That's when it gets tricky, is when I'm doing here. That's a perfect example. Doing headshots. So I got a big old bag full of my headshot lighting equipment. Then I got to do video. So, all right, here's another bunch of bags for a video. And then it all comes together. But I have a good time when it comes to figuring out the logistics of making it all work.
Yeah, I remember you were actually, I think recently you posted a story and you even have time to like go on runs and work out and stuff like that. Like me, I like get home from events and I'm just like, all right, I'm dead. But you have so much time and you're on the road a lot. Like to be clear, you're coming down from Virginia to New York City often.
Yeah.
Often Jersey as well to work with Vanessa Joy. For those of you that don't know who Vanessa Joy is, she's also one of the tops in the industry. One of the people that other photographers look to for advice and for tips. Tuli also knows her and has worked with her. So I feel blessed to be in the network or even in the vicinity of you guys, because you guys work with like people in my industry that we all look up to, like Jason Janai and, you know, guys at the top of the industry that have the pleasure of hiring you on a consistent basis.
Subscriber basis, that's what I call them.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty dope. I had the opportunity to work with you, and kind of shifting gears, I want to know, like, now, like, I know what's happened. I mentioned what happened to me during COVID and what I've been up to. How has it changed for you? I know you're moving more to live streaming these days, right?
Yeah. How has COVID been with me? That's always a question that I almost cringe inside, because I don't know why. I hate to give an answer, because I know that, you know, frankly, I mean, I guess what it really boils down to is, you know, whatever you believe in. Like, I feel like I've been blessed throughout COVID, because there's so, you know, many people who are honestly losing their businesses. It's horrible. It's tragic. But this has been a really, really great year for me. Early on, I don't want to say I pivoted. That's what everybody else says I did, but I would just say that I looked at the situation and realized I need to do something to provide for it, because when you know, everything started and stuff like that, there wasn't a clear plan. There wasn't like, okay, we know that the government's going to help us or do blah blah blah. There was all this confusion and nobody knew anything. So I just said, okay, it's on me to figure this out. So like I mentioned the word earlier, subscribers. I have a number of subscribers who I literally basically am their in-house video, and these aren't like event halls. These are the stuff that, you know, y'all don't see me post a lot about those, because those are like the corporate, the commercial, the offices, like whether it's walking in there making internal videos so their staff knows what to do. Like, those are things I set up like years in the past, because while they're super boring creatively, they're consistent, they're reliable and stuff like that. And so I leaned on them for a hot minute. But then I also went back to my live streaming roots and really tripled down on my live streaming efforts, because here's what I came up with, you know, early on. Hey, we're not going to be doing events. I don't think we're going to be doing them for a minute. Let me get live streaming stuff like that because I need to be essential. If only essential people can work, I know that I can be safe and be essential because when you can go political and hear like whether you believe we should wear a mask or not, but like I knew that okay, I can mask up, I can do whatever I need to do. I can, I literally like when it was deep in COVID, I basically almost had the hazmat suit out doing some of this stuff because what I started doing was actually funerals. I was walking out there with a camera and a live streaming kit and doing some of the most beautiful looking funerals you'd ever seen. Because a lot of times people, when they had live stream funerals, it was just like the funeral hall. They might have that one security camera in the back. It's not anything that you would brag home about, but you could, somebody could see it. Whereas, I'm coming in there with a broadcast style and doing that. And it went from one funeral home to another. And like literally just like any, great sales process, I set up a call sheet. I went down the whole call sheet in my entire area and then a little bit further. And I got my favorite funeral homes and we kept the show going. Even to this day, I got one scheduled in 2 days.
That's one of the things I think that caught me off guard. I was like, he's live streaming funerals and people want to do that. I thought that was interesting because I had to stop and think, was that something that I'd want to do if it were my funeral or someone close to me? And I think I was like moving towards yes, because I think, a lot of people aren't comfortable with funerals, right? They say they don't come in person. They don't want to be around, all the emotion. Some people are a lot more emotional than others. They just kind of want to grieve in their own way. And I think the live streaming process is genius, honestly. And
thank you.
And that kind of runs into Suli's question is, what other kind of events are you live streaming? You mentioned funerals. What other events?
Funerals were the big one. And to talk about like what you were just saying on that, like it's also how I went about filming and even, I hate to say selling, but presenting it to the funeral home so they could present it to the client was like what you said, the first thought is, would I want this filmed? You show that, hey, I'm not showing people's faces like it's a wedding. I'm not doing this shot of somebody grieving's face, like never, ever, actually. But what you do see is a nice, clean shot of a medium shot where you can see the coffin, you can see the flowers, you can see everything. That I have actually the person speaking. And it makes it so it's something that people can watch because not only do people grieve differently, but like imagine if something happened to somebody on the other side of the country, like, even you're in New York, something happened to somebody in Texas, you might want to go see them. And during COVID, you literally could not, even though other things were going on, we're not going to talk about that. You literally could not go to these things to pay your respect, to grieve and stuff like that. So I actually was thinking about funerals even before this happened. COVID just forced my hand to start sooner, but sorry, I got sidetracked there. What other kinds of events? I've been doing some small concerts and stuff like that as well as, internal live streams for other companies. So when I say concerts, I mean, at the National Harbor is one of my favorite ones I've been doing repeatedly. It's a dueling piano bar. It's called Bobby McKee's. And obviously they're in the theater industry, so they cannot do their thing. They couldn't have people in there, but what they could do, and many of the players were doing this from home, was doing like what you've been doing is, trying to entertain their audiences. And sometimes, you get people who tune in, they had like a little digital tip jar out there to, try and make ends meet. And so we were doing those at the bar, and then we transformed that into where we're doing live events now at the bar, where literally companies are hiring us, myself and the piano players in the house, to rent us out to do like live happy hours and virtual events and stuff like that. The same way a company would hire them to rent the bar out and bring their, staff and whatever to the bar for whatever private party. We're doing that virtually through the World Wide Web. And like, we're getting hundreds of people in some of these live streams, and they're requesting their songs. They're having a good old time in there. And it's because we put it in front of them. We present it to them. So yeah, we've been doing great at like Bobby McKee's with the live events.
That's pretty awesome. And I think because one thing that I noticed about you, and I'll ask you about this during your live stream events, is you don't really have set assistants for your events, right? Like you use a service depending on where you're going to go to hire out, or do you have like set people? And does that still apply now that COVID is a thing?
Well, when it comes to me and assistants, it comes down to budget. So for the longest time, I would literally, if I get that client with their bulkhead pricing and trying nickel and dime, and we lose production value when I can't have an assistant, but I've had a great assistant. His name's Austin for the last year or so now, and he's been on almost all my shoots. He just graduated from college, and he's actually in the theater industry, which obviously isn't doing anything this year. So I've been keeping him busy with being an assistant, and I keep him running around with me for like mainly my Virginia, DC, Maryland events. And when I'm in New York, I have a few others who I've worked with, and I pull from I literally have a hat where it's like, all right, let's see which one of these guys or gals are available to help me out.
That's awesome. I think I struggled with that. And that day that you filmed for us, that was the first time I officially hired like hands.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been pretty much consistently been my hands, because I think that was something that I really wanted to get out in the video. I wanted shirts. I wanted the logo everywhere. I wanted to make sure that it looked like we were doing what we do anyway, but just on a kind of put it on steroids a little bit. And ever since then, I think I've been consistently doing that. If it's a small event with a little bit of equipment, I wouldn't waste their time. But, especially when we have large events with photo booth and, all of our large setup and our lights and everything, I hire out now. And I think one thing I learned that day also from you was just being more interactive, because it looks better in video. I try to minimize my going out into the dance floor sometimes, because I just don't want to be that haggling, annoying presence sometimes. But that day you were like, go out there. And it just really like showed in the video. And ever since then, I've been doing that more too. So, even though we're in different industries, you've kind of like taught me a lot in just 1-2 days that we work together. So,
well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm happy to have been able to help.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna continue to. I'm gonna stay in contact with Charles, and if I ever could get him in front of people, I will. And here's my opportunity to do that. So I thought
I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, man. And I want to give people opportunity to ask questions. We're reaching the 25-minute mark. If you guys have any questions, if you're an aspiring videographer or photographer and you have questions for Charles, definitely put it in the comments. While we wait for people to do that, if you have any social media you want to put out into the chat for people to follow you.
Okay. Let's see. I put in the chat here. I'm at C King Photography for Work. That's kind of boring though. But if you go to at the Charles King Show, that's when it gets fun.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Talk about that a little bit. I think you have one that's like one that you said is one is personal and one is more work related.
Well, when it comes to me, it's always work, but one is just dedicatedly the work. So the C King Photography, which actually is my old name, I'm C King Media now. I just haven't changed that because internally I know what's going to happen. That means that everybody who's tagged me, photo credits for over the years, I'm going to lose all those the second I change my name, and it sucks. And that's why I haven't done it yet, but I'm actually C King Media. ckingmedia.com. We changed the name because so many people were getting confused when you hear C King Photography. It's like, oh yeah, I need video of those. Like, I got that. So it's C King Media now. But the reason why I have two of those is because one of them is always showing the work. So for example, it's synced up to the website, and this is what, I mean, everybody does their thing differently, and everything works good and bad for everybody differently. There is no right or wrong way of, doing the stuff. Because people ask me all the time, like, oh, yeah, how should I do this? It's like, whichever way works best for you. So for you, it might be best if you are your own brand, where it's literally all going through you at one time. But the short answer is, my C King Photography one, it links up to my website, and because I get many clients and stuff like that who will look at my stuff or be on the website, and what they want, they just want a quick reassurance that they can get what they want. So for example, if they go to my website, they see the Instagram, hey, there's a whole bunch of works. Oh, he can do it. That's all they need to see. Now, if they want to really dive deeper, they want to really, okay, I'm on the fence about this, let's find out more about him. If they look at the Charles King Show, the personal one, that's where you see a whole bunch of like behind the scenes. That's when you see dumb pictures of my cat. That's when you see like a lot of me doing stuff, because while I'm not ever trying to advocate for faking that you're doing stuff, everything you see on my social is actually actively happening at that exact time. Otherwise, I'd say, oh yeah, this is from last year. But like when they see that, oh man, he was just in New York doing headshots, and how are you here right now? Like, you know how many clients get super hype about that? It's like, I didn't think you were coming today because I saw you were in New York. I was like, yeah, what's up? You booked me. I'm here. They feel good. Like their energies. I was like, man, like I don't see how you're doing it, but I need to bring it myself right now.
Yeah, that's you, man. You're like the Energizer buddy. You finish a shoe and you're in the car and on to the next one.
Well, yeah, I went like a few weeks ago. I decided just to start storing, like literally every time I'm on the highway, it was like highway, highway, highway. A bunch of people were laughing every time I did that. They weren't believing that. Somebody actually said, "There's no way you're doing that." So I was like, "I'll post every time I go on the highway." Safely, of course, safely.
So we have a question coming in. What advice would you give a photographer or videographer just starting out?
I would say advice to a photographer or videographer starting out would be to figure out what the heck you're doing tech wise. Like, do it for fun, do it for your cat, do it for you. Enjoy the living crap out of it, and that way you'll really get a taste of what you like, and then you can start building your brand and stuff like that off of that. So for example, because I have a lot of different hats, and that's not even a brag, that's just a factual thing. So it's tough for me to explain myself, but like if you were like somebody who is passionate about here, I'll use families or boudoir, like either or one of those. Obviously you have a family, photograph your family and stuff like that. Or when it's boudoir, it's a little bit trickier, but there's plenty of people, depending on the area you're in, to figure out somebody who might want to, model. And that way you can really get your lighting down. You can get all those tech things, because when you're doing this type of stuff in this industry, you want to have that camera in your hand enough where you have literal muscle memory. So the actions you're doing are unconscious. Like I think one of the speakers I followed one time, they were explaining unconscious consciousness, which basically means like when you tie your shoe, for example, you aren't thinking how to tie your shoe. When you were 4 years old, though, man, tying your shoe was like a big deal. It was something that you're like focused on, like this is doing this. But like right now,
everybody.
Exactly. You're not even thinking about it right now. That's how, when it comes to photo video, you need to shoot and shoot and shoot till the tech and the hardware, you're not even considering that. You're more so engaging with the client, and all this other stuff, it's just naturally being where it needs to be. I was actually working on this master class I'm working right now on how to film yourself, and I just went into detail about how, like, let's say this setup right now, it doesn't take me but a second to do this. I'm not even thinking about this. I know, okay, round about this light's gonna be around here, this is gonna be in, this works, settings are around about here, and hey, what's up?
Yeah, your lighting. Somebody said earlier, was this Uli? I think, yeah, somebody said nice lighting.
Oh, well, thank you.
I said that. That's the first thing I said when you got on the call.
I know. I'm sorry to. It's a little smile I get whenever somebody does that. It's like, here it comes, here it comes. They're like, oh.
I think next time I'm gonna use my uplights in the back when I do my next Tuesday talk.
Well, yeah, but yeah, to recap on that whole thing, if you're starting out, get the camera in your hand, shoot as much of what you're trying to do as possible, so you get to the point where you're not even thinking about it, because it's going to show in your work. It's going to show consistency, number one. It's going to show whenever you get in front of a person that you're not thinking about the camera. You're literally walking out there like, hey, how you doing? Okay, so like, have you ever seen a photographer put somebody and do their thing, and it's the most beautiful work of art you ever seen? I'm not even talking about the photo. I'm just talking about them taking the photo. It's like you're watching Beethoven do his thing, because it's like he's not even
watching
thinking
an
about it,
artist
doing it.
I think one thing I noticed too, and when I'm giving advice to like newer DJs as to what they should do, I tell them to, basically master their craft. There's two types of people, I think, and those are the people that are just A, scared to get out in front of people, or B, too excited to get in front of people without knowing what they're going to do first. And I think those are two flaws in themselves. But I think when I'm giving advice to people, I tell them, to get to know yourself a little bit more through your craft. So that way, what your, like you said, muscle memory is, what works for you and what doesn't. A lot of DJs catch a lot of flack for like playing the same set every event. But, one thing is that's muscle memory for them. And, while they're playing for a new crowd every single time, for them, they're hearing it for the same amount of time every event. So I think it'll be the same for photographers and videographers. It's like, while you're doing the same thing, you're not doing it for the same group of people, and they may have different tastes. It's just more about what you like and how you feel comfortable. I think your advice is spot on. Like, just figure out what you want to do, figure out your craft, and enjoy it while you're doing it too. A lot of people forget that it's not work for us. It's we enjoy doing it, so it doesn't feel like a job. While we have people that are hiring us and technically they're our boss for whatever amount of time that we're working for them, we're still enjoying it at the same time.
Well, yeah, and I'd even take what you just said to another level. So if I was, a DJ or whatever, like I honestly, I think, I'll even ask you this: what's that one song you just don't feel like playing ever again? What's the song? What is it?
Right now?
Be honest. What's the song? I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's the song you do not feel like playing or hearing again?
One song I play almost consistently every event is Danza Kuduro. And I love the reaction to it, but I hate playing it because I'm like, here we go again. And it works consistently. I could play it for an American crowd, a Latin crowd, Black crowd, Chinese crowd. It doesn't matter. Yep. They're going to turn up to it. But when I like put it into my queue, and I'm just like, all right, here we go.
Yep. So like as a DJ and so like you're and I'm sure some people get it's almost complacency where it's just like, okay, here we go, versus like literally like looking out through the equipment, through the lights, through the sparklers. I know y'all got all that stuff, and when you see that Brian Groomson there and like looking at them and like, all right, I'm out to rock this night. It's about to be the best thing ever. Even if it's like one of the, I'm not going to say which type of wedding, but the type where they're not really dancing. They're kind of like really awkward. You know the ones I'm talking about. It's like, you know what? Watch this. We're about to have an entire character change. Watch.
Yeah.
Because you're like feeling off of them and like instead of thinking about, okay, I'm going through the same motions I always do versus I'm only dealing with you like right now in this crowd. Like that's all I'm focusing on. I'm not even focusing on the same exact, cue and set list. That's what I do when I'm shooting and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like I can separate. I can look at the client and tell what kind of client it's going to be. And I also know by their guests what type of party it's going to be. Like I separated into 3 categories. I learned this from a really good DJ named Mike Walter, who separates it into 3 categories. There's the dancers, the sitters, and the skeptics. My goal is to entertain the skeptics. Those are the ones that, the stars have to align. The music has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect for them to dance, but they're going to dance. It just has to be what they're looking for. The sitters, they left their house. Like they said it from the moment they got the invite that they weren't going to dance. So I don't really entertain them that much. I don't try to bother them. I don't go out and grab them by the arm. If they get up, cool. If they don't, believe it or not, those are the ones that actually give me my most referrals because they're observing everything. And then the dancers, other people, you can play Frankie Valli, you can play Frank Sinatra, you can play Black Eyed Peas, they'll dance. Doesn't really matter. They knew they were going to dance from the minute they left their house. So those people I don't have to worry about too much. Do you have like the
right moment?
Do you have like clients like that you feel like you can look at them and be like, all right, this is going to be that type of client versus, this is probably an easy client and a more difficult client for you, right?
Yes and no, because even when I'm doing one-on-one headshots, that's the best way I can describe it. Typically, it's not full-blown coaching, but I end up connecting with them and figuring out what's going to be their spot where it's like they let me in and we can really get jiving there. When I do what's called volume headshots, which is where I'll go into a building and shoot maybe 400 headshots in one day because like all the offices and stuff like that, that's when I get to see the people where it's just like I don't have enough time to make that connection with, and I can see the ones who are more of a possible pain in the butt because they're just not going to be happy. No matter what I possibly do, they're just not going to be happy. You can see the ones where it's like they may not. I don't believe anybody's not photogenic, but like let's say you're looking at them and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try to do the best I can here. And you can see where some of them are having the best time ever. And when I make that person smile, it makes my day. As opposed to, that person you're looking at is like you're going in the portfolio. It's like, okay, you're cool. If you had great personality, then we're jiving. But when I see somebody, I totally transform them to where they were to something different. That's what's awesome. If I do a boudoir session and that person walks out there feeling confident, her shoulders are back, she's walking tall, I'm like, hey, did you want to take the heels off before you leave? That type of thing. She's just feeling herself that good. That's when I knew I did my job well.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You got to think about doing it for your client, even if they are like they seem like they're going to be difficult at first. I thankfully, knock on wood, haven't dealt with anyone that I felt like I wish I never worked with. But that's good to know. I never really asked you that, or asked the photographer or videographer that, to see what their client base would look like. Like for us, our worst nightmare is like a bridezilla or some sort of Zilla of any kind.
I'd say your worst nightmare is the power goes out. I would say that's your worst nightmare.
Actually, when I first started DJing, that happened to me. Like my first or second event, that was like I had nightmares for like months.
Like if I was a DJ, I would literally have the Honda 2000 generator in the car, just wait for it to happen. And like that way, if all the power went out in the hall or the tent or wherever, it's like, guys, we're about to have a lights out dance party. Get ready. Give me 10 minutes.
That's not a bad idea. Well, these days that's not too far and few in between because of all the outdoor events.
I would 100% do that because imagine that for us. I know we're getting long-winded here. Imagine that, like you're doing the tent, and since you're running off a house circuit, you blow the whole fuse and it's not coming back. Imagine the amount of referrals you'd get if you ran to the car, pulled out the generator, and literally plugged in. It's like lights aren't working, but we are. Keep the party going. And then hit a track at that exact moment.
That would be awesome.
Like that would be the stuff that people will be talking about for the next 10 years. Like, oh my gosh, we went to your wedding, the power went out, we were dancing in the dark with the DJ, turned the music up, and somebody broke their leg because it was nighttime. It was great though.
Let's not hope for someone breaking their leg.
Hey.
But yeah, Charles, man, we are reaching the 40-minute mark. I know you have things to do too. I don't want to keep you too long, but I appreciate you taking the time. Charles has put his social media on the bottom of the screen if you guys are interested in following him and see what his life is like. It looks like it's a lot more interesting than mine a lot of the time. He's always on the road. So definitely give him a follow on Instagram. His website, his new website is below, King Media. Definitely check it out, and you can see some more of his content. If you're interested, all of my vendor friends, if you're interested in working with Charles, definitely reach out to him directly. He's easy to reach and very responsive, and definitely one of the best vendors I've ever worked with. Dare to say friends that I have in my network. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for making me such an awesome promo video. I'll definitely be in touch soon about my second one. It's time to refresh. So Charles, I really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure. Anytime.
So we'll talk soon. I'm gonna reach out to you after this, and thanks for the time, man.
My pleasure. Have a good night.
All
See ya.
Later, man.